Are you struggling to understand how Great One grinding works here in the Hunter Call of the Wild? Whether you're struggling to get set up, struggling to do the grind itself, or maybe you're struggling to pick whatever species you want to grind for, stick around until the end of today's video, guys, because by the end of today's video, you're gonna know absolutely everything that you need to know to spawn any Great One here in the Hunter Call of the Wild with ease. Now before we dive into today, guys, I do just want to let you guys know real fast that I also make gameplay style videos, so if you guys like to watch those kind of casual hunts, where I just pretty much pick a map, go out and try to find anything that I can off of it, and at the end of the video we always go back to the trophy lodge, which is really coming along now here on the new account on the PC. I think we are actually pushing 1500 total harvests, and surprisingly enough 63 diamonds. Obviously the fallow grind helped out a ton with that, and our current Great One grind is the pheasant grind, and we're currently 11 diamonds and just under 500 kills. So again, if you guys like those kind of casual let's play videos, I would strongly suggest just browsing through my content, as I do make quite a bit of them with many more to come. Okay, you guys, so as you can see, for the first time in pretty much, I think ever, at least on the PC, I know that for sure, we're out here on Sceudule Coast today, and when I make my how to spawn any Great One guide videos, usually what I'll do is pick one of the grinds that I'm already set up for, and try to explain the grind in a universal state of talking, I guess we can say, because of the fact that all grinds are pretty much the same in the sense of what you need to do to get set up, what you need to do to find your zones, and what you need to do to start processes like herd management. Now there is some exceptions, for example, like drink zones with tar. Obviously tar don't drink, but the process is still going to be the same, except for the fact that instead of using drink zones, you're going to be using their rest zones. Same thing goes for pheasant. Definitely strongly suggest checking out my pheasant Great One guide, as I do have a specific video on that will be linked in the description for you guys. Again, with the pheasants, you're not using their drink zones because obviously they don't drink. You're going to be hunting them at one of their rest times, preferably in Sceudule Park, but that really just depends on preference. So guys, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get a tent and tripod placed down here because I kind of like this zone. It's relatively wide open, and the next time that you guys are going to see me is when I'm recording the clip for the very first step to start finding your need zones for whatever species you're planning on doing a Great One grind on. Okay guys, so obviously kind of jumping back and starting from the beginning, the very first step to any grind, no matter what grind this is going to be to find all of your species need zones. For the pheasant grind, you're only going to need to find 10 drink zones. Like I said, I would strongly suggest watching my pheasant guide for more information specifically on that grind, as it is a slightly more easy grind, a very beginner friendly grind, but I know a lot of you guys don't want a bird Great One, and I didn't really either right when they first released them, but I have to say the grind is growing on me, and I would strongly suggest it. Okay guys, so probably the next question that you guys are going to be asking yourselves right off the bat here on step 1 is going to be, where do I look to go ahead and find my animal need zones? Now if you guys go ahead, head down there into the description, there is going to be a link for my Discord server. So we're going to go ahead and enter my Discord server, and then we're going to go to this little section right here called hotspot maps, and then once you get in there, there is a list of all the different maps, and inside of all those different maps is a folder that contains hotspot maps that shows you when and where to find each species in the game. Now all these hotspot maps are kindly provided by my friend ProXCK. You can also find these hotspot maps in his Discord server, which is linked in the description for you guys as well. Now for a better example, let's say you want to do the black bear grind in Silver Ridge Peaks. There you go. That's every single lake that black bear can potentially be found at. Let's say whitetail in Sceudule Coast, because that's what we're hunting today. There you go. Even if it's a non-Great One species like willow ptarmigan and you just want to know where you can find them at, as you can see, they feed or rest all day every day, so you can find them at any time of day at any of these locations down here, and you will not find them anywhere on the top half of the map. Brown bear, they drink 4 to 8, and as long as you have the time set in between 4 to 8, I'd recommend 5:30 for this time period, and you check any of the outlined water sources, you are going to find brown bear. I can promise you that. In today's case, we're going to be using whitetail. Obviously they drink 8 to 12 here in Sceudule, so I always set the time to 9:30, and I've checked, I think, probably about 10% of the total water sources here on the map. I've checked this lake, 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 and these 2 lakes. I still have to check this one and everything below this line here. So I do have quite a bit of zone finding left, but I am making great progress. So now the hotspot maps are out of the way and you guys know exactly how to find every species in the game, obviously at any map in the game. Let's go ahead and move into step 2 in today's video, which is going to be kind of tying back to step 1. I'm really going to show you guys exactly what you're going to need to do. This is going to take several hours, so I would recommend doing it over the course of a few days. Okay guys, so what you're going to want to do now is go ahead and pick one of the water sources for whatever species that you're hunting. Obviously, if it's a species that only feeds, then pick a location that they can potentially be found feeding at. Make sure it's set to the right time, obviously. Like I said here a few minutes ago, a whitetail drink 8 to 12, it's 10:41, and you can definitely find them here at this lake. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and start looking for my zones here. Now I'm going to share with you guys a few different tips that I use when I'm looking for my drink zones, just to try to make the process as easy as possible. And what you guys are going to want to do is search every single area on your map that they can potentially be found drinking at. Now you're going to need to do this so that way you get consistent respawns, and if you don't have all your animals need zones, you're not going to get consistent respawns. Now something that I do when I'm searching for my zones is I go out and I spot absolutely everywhere. As you can see, there's a fresh zone right there, solid level 2 in there. And when I'm running around these water sources, I always have my Apex View binoculars with me, and I'd say 75% of the time I'm looking through them. Now, in the herd management point of view, if you're going to use HM, I would strongly suggest placing down all 16 of your tents that the map will let you place, because unfortunately there is a 16 tent limit on every single map at 16 separate zones. Now, the reason that you're going to want to do this, if you want more depth on herd management, I would strongly suggest checking out my herd management explain video, which is also linked in the description for you guys. Now the reason that you're going to want to do that is so that way you can jump in between 16 different zones at one time during one rotation using 16 different tents, shooting down those zones, and then once a zone fills with small deer, you're going to want to pick up that tent and that tripod and move to another zone. Repeat the process until pretty much every single zone is shot down, besides the ones that you actually want to keep as your main zones. In that case, don't shoot those zones until you fully start your grind and the herd management process is over. Now, if you have tiny deer in your main zones, like for example this level 1 here, you can go ahead and shoot it even before your herd management process is over, because that'll get a bigger buck to jump into your main zone, which is obviously what you want. So, oh, I thought I neck shotted him. I definitely tried. Shot him with a 300, so we will go down, but a couple extra shots in there just to make sure. Now for me, this zone is definitely not going to be a main zone, so I shot the biggest buck in there, so that way hopefully it will respawn as a smaller deer. And the reason that you want that is when you have all of your exterior zones filled with small deer, your main zones will have consistent big deer in them, spawning more diamonds, bigger rares, and possibly, in my opinion, it is a theory, but I personally think that herd management makes the great one come out faster. Spawn in, not come out. I gotta use proper grammar here. Again, if you guys would like a more in-depth kind of explanation on herd management, I would really suggest checking out my herd management video, because it is a very complicated strategy. It's actually very simple, but it's just hard to understand. I do pretty much cover everything in that video using fallow as an example, because the fallow grind is probably the most common grind. If not, then most likely either red deer or the moose grind would be the most common. Let me know down below, what grind are you planning on doing? Are you going to use herd management, and what is your favorite fur type or rack type for that great one? I really enjoy the sapphire plumage type for the pheasant great one, kind of just tying back to my current grind, but as I always say, whatever one that we end up spawning will be my favorite. Also, my live streams are a really great place to ask questions, because I grind live pretty much every single day for 2 hours on end, if not longer. I've been trying to stream as much as possible lately, but those of you guys that follow the channel really consistently know that I just got a puppy, and I've been working with her on a daily basis to try to get her potty trained ASAP. So recording's been a challenge, let alone streaming, but bear with me, we are going to stream quite a bit next week, and hopefully more and more and more for weeks on end. Okay, so if you're not using herd management, this is kind of where the video splits into 2 ways for you. All that you're going to want to do if you're not using herd management is set up on as many zones as you possibly can, placing the tent at the minimum of 250 meters away from one zone. Now in this case, this zone is a moose zone, so I don't have to worry about that one. This zone is a whitetail zone, it's over 250 meters from my tent, but this zone may be slightly closer, but the last time I knew it was a solo zone and it was just a little level 1. As soon as I spawn in, that zone is going to spook, so if there's anything special there, I will definitely see once I spawn in, but I wouldn't really expect it to, as these 2 zones are going to be the ones that I'm going to be consistently harvesting. Now back to what you're going to want to do if you're not using herd management, simply set up at as many zones as possible, rotate through, shoot and shoot and shoot as much as you possibly can, and check all of your exterior zones as consistently consistently as possible, I would recommend every other rotation. Go to some of the zones that you're not set up at, preferably all the zones that you're not set up at if you can, and just check for things like level 3s showing up, big 2s showing up, and obviously possibly even that great one showing up. I cannot tell you the amount of times that people who aren't using herd management have had a great one on a random zone that they didn't even know was there for maybe even weeks, and it usually tends to be the exact same people who are saying they're grinding, and they just can't find anything. And that's really just one of the downsides to not using herd management, is the simple fact that your respawns are not going to be consistent, not even in the sense of just not having big deer respawn, sorry I marked the wrong lake there, but also in the sense of your deer respawning, or animals respawning I should say, in your main zones that you rotate through on a daily consistent basis. And the reason this is just such a helpful thing is because of the fact that if that great one spawns, if a diamond spawns, it's going to be in one of the 8 to 10 zones that you're rotating through if you're using herd management, and chances are that you're most likely going to see it. Now jumpers do happen, especially with the fallow grind. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've had a level 5 jump out as a solo zone, and I can usually tell when that's going to happen just because of the simple fact that my deer usually become inconsistent and very small. And if you're just noticing any changes in your respawns, you probably have some jumpers, or possibly even a great one. Look at this, guys, there's a bunch of fleeing deer here, so apparently we had a zone relatively close to the outpost, so I am going to go figure out where this zone is, and I should probably shoot that level 2 there too. Maybe they're actually going to come back. Hold on. They're traveling in the opposite direction, so I doubt that they're going to come back. There we go. Another one in there, he will go down relatively quick. And really my biggest tip that I cannot stress enough for anyone trying to get into grinding is just do not give up. Here's that zone, by the way. Giving up is by far the worst thing that you can do, and really the only thing that you can do to improve that, whether it's your motivation or whether you're just not understanding something, is to study my content, study other Call of the Wild creators' content, take notes. Call of the Wild is just a very strategic game in general, and just like any other strategy in life, it is going to take some time to learn. Don't get discouraged, keep watching these videos just like this, and without further ado, my friends, I think that is going to wrap it up today. I'm wishing you guys all the best luck on your great one grinds. As always, happy hunting. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Squid, you're watching Squidster Outdoors, and we'll see you later. Peace.